So, for a good while on BYR and other streams, we have talked about the atomization of society. Leo Pirate, in particular, likes this idea, which is summarized as follows. As society has many sources of different information it takes as legitimate, with the spread of thousands of different viewpoints and internet ideologies, people become atomized. That is to say, that one given person in the information overflow society cannot relate or cooperate with another person in such a society simply because the very facts that they rely on are different. Now, this could be true to an extent, in simple ways like with the political divide between left and right. One group believes a given narrative and vis-a-vis for their opposition, but if society was truly atomized, anyone walking down the street could have diametrically opposed metaphysical and moral models, and thus social conduct. And this is true in the extent of difference between cultures in a multicultural society, but it is not extreme. There is a monoculture, there is a binding glue to all of modern society, and it is institutionally enforced. And because of this monoculture, which is hard to pinpoint and see because of its ubiquity, people on the outside misattribute society to being atomized, but this is not the case. People on the political fringes of thought and belief are certainly atomized, have infighting, come to different philosophical conclusions and opinions, and their alliance is an uneasy one of convenience against the forces pressuring them. But their opposition, and the majority of society, is monolithic. It is whole. The prevailing morality is neoliberal materialism. Within this framework, one can choose between being a collectivist, like a commie, or an individualist, like a liberalist. But ultimately, both agree that society should be run based off of utilitarian material outcomes. There is no higher morality than the state, and that material success is the font of virtue. And of course, this goes along a spectrum. Not every normal fag indoctrinated by their environment loves tranny dick, but usually they aren't aggressively against it. After all, they say it is an individual's choice. But every normal fag ultimately believes that economic success is success. The family unit is purely an economic unit, and that their economic success is the wellspring of their virtue, i.e., neoliberal materialism in a nutshell. Even if you talk to a number of right-wing people who see themselves on the fringe, those intellectual dark web listening rebels, they will be functioning under these assumptions. They have not bothered seeking any other source for morality. They have been told that economic success is key, and there are problems and groups in society that can be helped with economic solutions. Disagreeing on the method of economic solution does not change the underlying similarity, and that is the obsession with the physical allocation of property. Funny enough, this somewhat Marxist obsession is what also drives those on the economic right to their political activity, even though it is rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic, if you will. The economic distribution is meaningless if your society is immoral, degenerate, and hedonistic, but for the majority of normal people, there is no greater morality. Hedonism is not only fine, it is how one gains social credit and clout. The amount of parties and promiscuity an individual has is another metric, along with economic success, to determine their social hierarchy. Kids' parents will hear of their children binge drinking, partying, doing drugs, and other nonsense, and not only be okay with it, but be understanding and encourage it. Because after all, this is exactly how the boomer generation grew up as well, with social status being determined by hedonistic outcomes. And why would these boomers question it? All of the television, advertising, and education reinforces this valuation of the carnal pleasures, and that they are not only fine, but virtuous. These people enjoying the physical pleasures are truly alive. They are living the dream, as some slogans will put it. Even if inside that person is nothing but an exposed nerve recycling stimuli with no greater purpose to their life than drowning in pleasure, or slotting themselves in the social hierarchy, they are apparently a huge success. Success is very simply put a measure of your hedonistic exploits and your wealth to command such exploits. Virtue is Lambos, hookers, and blow. And this is true across the political aisle and in most of the Western world. Children will be engaging in underage drinking, drugs, and fornication because it's what's on TV. It's what their parents did, and if their parents care, they don't care enough to punish them. They'll grow up to be adults and pass down the same nonsensical value system. This is a society in the nihilistic void, and it is not atomized, it is very monolithic. There are superficial differences among people with opinions of how to arrange economic building blocks, but not many differences on what is the good life, that supposed question with many answers. There is one answer, and that is pleasure and money. And if you choose another answer of any kind, you are a prude, an incel, a loser, and so on. And this is true within the hierarchy built on hedonistic exploits. Those who don't participate are the untouchables. And those untouchables are certainly atomized if their beliefs both metaphysical and moral. They are not united in any way. And one might contest that this has been true throughout all of history, that the social hierarchies were defined by one's ability to make merry and command wealth. And to an extent it is true, but societies of lower technology were forced to value other various morals or risk society falling apart overnight. And when they didn't uphold them, they fell one after another. France, Rome, China, the list goes on and on. Now, the technology exists for these central actors to keep society running no matter what level of hedonism is valued. There is no fail state, there is no collapse. And in this new exciting time of clown world, we will get to see sites that would have torn apart ancient societies. But they won't get fixed, they will be encouraged and enshrined. There's no great reason to leave the monolith of material morality, because your pleasure centers are rewarded for leaving sacrifices in its altar. But maybe with a push and a shove, a mild suggestion of that nihilistic void, that meaningless empty space, someone can be pushed out of that monolith into something more meaningful.